Good morning and welcome to the January 29th meeting of the Expenditures and Revenue Study Committee Town Subcommittee. First item of business is we know who's here from a roll call standpoint. Janet, John Doggett, and myself, which is a quorum of the five. Missing at the moment are Ruth Ellen Fitch and John Van Scoyac. Next item will be to review the minutes from I have to pull it up, but from our last meeting. Let me get it. Hold on. Something with the calendar. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's been a little bit slow opening up that calendar events on the Brookline homepage recently. Civic clerk. Let me open up the minutes. Okay, the minutes from the January 15th meeting that were written by John Van Scoyac. I assume everybody's had a chance to take a look at them. Any discussion about the minutes?
No, I move that we accept them.
A second?
Second.
John, how do you vote?
Aye.
If there's no more discussion, Janet?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We'll accept the minutes, approve them, and we'll move forward. The next item on the agenda is to review and discuss the shared town report that
Excuse me, Jesse, somebody needs to take the minutes of this meeting.
Right. So at the moment, it'll either be John Doggett or you. John raised his hand almost reflexively. Thank you.
Okay, John Van Scoyac is just joining us, and Ruth Ellen, before you came on, came in to say that she would not be able to attend the meeting because of something personal that had come up.
Okay.
So it will just be the four of us.
All right. So John Doggett has raised his hand. Thank you on the minutes, and Nicole will make sure you get the AI transcription as well, John, which should help.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
JVS has his hand up.
Thank you, John.
It sounds like you are taking a vote on the minutes, and if so, I wanted to also vote for the acceptance.
Okay, yeah, we did that 2 minutes ago, but we'll add it. Well, the minutes will be
okay.
The minutes of the meeting will reflect that you voted to approve them as well. Thank you for doing them as well.
In my defense, I was reading the report when I lost track of the time.
Okay.
I know that feeling, John. There's not enough time to read, to write, and to think.
Yeah.
So moving on into item number 3, the discussion of the town report shared document. So I had significant challenges in using the share drive to review unmarked versions. It would not download the file. And so after trying different things, I gave up due to time and copied it laboriously, sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph down to my own computer and created a Word document, at least to get something out there in one piece that had all of that was a cleaned version of the inputs that I had gotten primarily from Janet and from Chaz and his team, and merged those all into the document. Since then, Sergio went through the whole document and had a couple of questions and suggestions, which I'd like to share. And then Janet as well provided some additional updates, which if we are in agreement, I'm happy to merge them in as well. And then let's open it for discussion at that point and maybe begin to annotate in this version. I'm happy to go up and re-upload it to the share drive. It's just that there was some issue in downloading and other things which made it messy. Or I may just I don't know, maybe put it in the Google Doc and share it across the Google Doc way rather than the shared way on the town server. But in any case, let me bring it up, and I guess I'll share my screen.
While you're doing that, I will echo. I found it very difficult to work on the shared drive. It kept showing me comments. I couldn't make them go away, and it was blocking the text that I was trying to write in. So it would be helpful to find another method, but we need to agree on that so we know where we're continuing to work.
Right, do you see my screen now? Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay, so, yeah, so I have a working table of contents that we can update, as we make changes. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in there right now. The executive, I'm assuming that the committee members have had a chance to, take a pass through this. There are parts of it that, of course, need some more work. I mean, all of it needs work. And of course, the mechanics by which we'll get Sadat's team and Sergio's team to merge in with this one have not been worked out yet, as in terms of who will be the prime architect of getting all the sections completed. But that aside, we still have to get it done. And we haven't talked yet about the next meeting, but I'm assuming it'll be next Thursday, February 5th or 6th, or whatever that day is, the 5th. We can talk about that at the end of the meeting. And so the executive summary discusses, I mean, I'll talk through it. If it gets too detailed, stop me. If we get to a problem area where we need to make a change, that's fine as well. The committee was created about, last March. The committee is composed of the following people. Paragraph about the town administrators and other town staff who are integral to the committee. And then the decision in October to split into 3 sections. Town subcommittee is tasked with doing the 3 things here. I left a paragraph for the school subcommittee to do the same thing, who the people are, what their major goals are. Same thing on the future side. Sergio gave me that information, but I mean, unless we want to break in the middle and start editing, I don't think
No, I
that's,
don't think we should.
we should.
No, I don't think we should.
Yeah. So I mean, what Sergio gave me for that, I'll just drop in. I just didn't have time this morning with other tasks already. And then, I guess I have it. I need to clean up this little section because it also mentions the same people again. I'll get rid of that. Okay, and then the recommendations are the following 4 items right now. One is we have, at least as of last writing, a $2.9 million deficit for next year, driven by rising fixed cost and the exhaustion of one-time funds. And then over the next 3 years, the fire department's overtime expense into the operating budget is also going to be driving the deficit. If there are pieces of this that need to be, turned around, happy to make the changes now, or we can, per Janet, probably continue down, make sure the overall flow of this thing seems like we've got a lot of it in the right places. And then without any corrective action, another observation we're making is that we face a combination of service reductions and staffing cuts next year, which would curtail core services with additional cuts in successive years. We just don't have the money. So based on Chaz's input to me early in the week, this week, the town is requesting a one-time property tax increase of 5.31 million. Of this, 1.25 million would be placed in an override reserve fund to support 28 and 29's unexpected growth in expenditures if needed, to avoid cuts midway through an operating override cycle.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry? Oh, okay.
Sorry, I think I coughed. Sorry.
Not a problem. Hope you're all right. And then
On
and then we're making, that's okay. Okay, let me just finish the sentence, and John, you raise your hand. And then the other point to make to folks is that, well, what about other ways of making revenue? So in summary, even if we were to raise fees, parking, another thing, construction permits, things like that, receipts from businesses and non-recurring funds, we can only offset really a minor portion of each year, let's just say. So that's not enough to close the gap by just thinking, well, we'll just cover it by increasing revenue options over which we have a lot of control. And then basically we recommend to the select board that the override question should be at $5.31 million. Of course, this has nothing to do with what we're going to get from the schools. This is only the town side. John?
Thank you, Jesse. I have a few comments which I hope won't stall the process of going through the entire document. I don't intend them that way at all. But I do want to just observe. I feel as though there's a couple of issues here that make it, to me, make it seem as though we are simply trying to justify, the fact that we overspend our revenues repeatedly. And yet, I suspect there'll be a fair number of people who will read this and say, well, wait a minute, don't you guys approve the contracts, within which the costs are known to be in excess of our projected revenues? And don't those same contracts have effects on how many employees need to have health coverage, which is a major driver beyond our revenues? And don't those same employees get pensions, which create an unfunded have created an unfunded liability historically, which drives our expenses way beyond our revenues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then a sort of minor point compared to that is I don't find the math of the numbers as to how much is the ask and how much is the deficit to sort of match up. The number for the deficit for FY27, and then the number that we're asking for, and then of the number we're asking for, the set aside for, the next 2 years. I'm trying to figure out how those numbers, are consistent with one another.
I mean, from there, you're saying there's sort of like a arithmetic error in there somewhere?
Well, I don't know if it's an arithmetic error or just an interpretation error, but if you look at what we say we need in FY27, and then you look at what we're asking for and subtract from the amount we're asking for, 1.25 for an overlay, whatever we're calling that, override reserve. I can't get that to add up to what we need for FY27.
I can add up the numbers, which is basically 2.9 is the current deficit minus 0.3 in efficiencies. So that gets you down to 2.6, and that 1.25 is for 28 and again in 29, and that's how the
Okay.
math adds up.
That's what so that's what I was suspecting, is that it sounds like the way we've worded it, it sounds like it's to cover both those years, but it's to cover 28 and then another 1.25 to cover 29, right?
So, yeah, what I would suggest, rather than bogging down in this now, is
Right.
I have had difficulty with the executive section from the beginning because we haven't gone through and talked about the rest. And it's really hard to say this is the summary when we haven't gone through and seen all the points. So I would just make note that this has to be reworked, the numbers made clearer, and what it is we're recommending versus what Chaz has requested, because they don't have to come out the same. And we haven't had a discussion of what that is. What I would suggest when we do the executive summary, that maybe somewhere in there has to be the pros and cons. Because if you start from what was written, I think after that, we answer a lot of the questions. It's just not reflected in that summary.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We don't want to get bogged down in that. I just thought I would point it out. And as my other point, I don't want to get us to get bogged down in that either. But I just want to, I hope others will make note of the fact. I personally am uncomfortable with anything that makes it sound like we are blaming the need for an override on factors that we can't control. When in fact, every major driver of our need for overrides is tied to the contracts that we agree to with our employees. And we never seem to confront that question.
So you're
and
saying,
Jeff,
you're saying what,
Yeah.
pensions, benefits, and contractual obligations? Those
yes,
three? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense I mean, the recommendation is not really the area to put that in, but somewhere we need to justify or explain. I get your point that the major cost drivers are really controllable at some level.
well,
No,
controllable
Well,
if we want to, take the risk of, contract negotiations, which are not going to be easy and are not going to be easily settled. And people are always going to come back and say, yeah, but if you think you can drive down, what you're going to offer in your contracts, you're then going to face the problem of competing for, employees with other neighboring communities that also agree to these too generous terms. Well, guess what? Those same communities are also having, these problems with structural deficits, and they are also contemplating overrides. So it's a statewide problem, community by community, but it doesn't change the fact that the problem tends to stem from the contracts that we negotiate and agree to. And then we discover we don't have enough money to fund these contracts, not just in terms of the ongoing payroll expenses, but in terms of the healthcare provisions that we agree to and the pension provisions that we agree to.
John had his hand up and then Chess.
Yeah, I'm looking at and obviously the B in recommendations is yet to be filled in, the public safety, DPW, etc., dollar amounts. My question is, and I know it probably is in the text, and I may well have passed over it a while back, but when we say that we are asking for a permanent override of 5.31 million, does that include something? Let's give an example of the tree bylaw, which we said was an unfunded liability, and somewhere down in the text. And I'm just wondering if that is contained in that or not. If not, then do we owe the reader here the report? The 5.3 million represents, on the one hand, which is listed in B as yet to be completed, but also does not include the following, because I have a feeling that everybody will read it and say, "Oh, my tree project is been funded," because it doesn't say it isn't.
Well, I mean, I think we do have and then I'll go to Chess. There's a section down towards the end of the report, John, that discusses the no overrides impact, the yes override impact, and and lists the programs, services, FTEs. So it's just not bubbled up to the top so that the recommendations doesn't become a very long section, but it is in the report, and we'll get to it if we get to the bottom today, John, and it is there if you scroll forward.
yeah,
But
that's why I
yeah,
suggest.
I'm sure it is. But excuse me, Janet. I'm sure it is, but it's not clear to the reader at this point, because the first thing I do is skip to the recommendations, right, and then I read the report, because you always like to know who done it, right? And so I think it needs to be contained in here, or at least a summary, or it may not be and maybe a referral to a more detailed account.
Okay, so I mean, that becomes a very explicit single description of something. So we'd have to think about whether we want to maybe in this paragraph open up some bullets and say the following things will also go away, even with this override, even at the 5.31 million. These are the services or programs that might be curtailed and the FTE reductions that will ensue, even at the override level, which I believe Chaz sent to me, which I did put in the document down below. So if you, yeah.
I mean, that gets back to my point to JVS. We have to rewrite this whole summary, but we need to go through the report, decide what the things we are before we put it in the summary. So continuing to discuss the summary is keeping us from where we need to go.
Right. I will also just say that I did schedule myself a little more time this morning, although we normally only go to 10 since we are getting to the crunch time in the report. I'm not sure of other people's schedules, but I did allocate myself like additional half hour if it's required. So we won't have to, so at least from my point of view, we won't be up against the 10 o'clock have to drop kind of thing. So okay, so Chaz, I'm sorry, you had a before we
Yeah, I just want
continue.
to quickly respond to both
Yeah, sure.
John's points, so that as we continue to go through this document, you can think about where this information can slot in. When it comes to the union contracts, right? The biggest pressure or difference between the town and the schools is that public safety unions can arbitrate their grievances in front of a joint labor management commission. And that group is supposed to be an impartial body that deals with these things. In practice, that body is subject to political whims, just like everything else. And what has happened in recent years is that the JLMC has produced a number of decisions that have been extremely pro-union. Backbreakingly so for some of the communities that have stepped through the process. And so I think it's important for people to understand John Van Scoyak's point, which is a good point. Yes, we have the ability to say no, we have the ability to hold the line on some of these things. But when it comes to public safety, what we have to do and what our negotiating team does, we sit in a room for days and talk through this internally before we go to the table, is what is our best alternative to arbitration, right? What do we think the worst case scenario is going to be? If we go to arbitration, what do we think the arbitrator is going to award? And we look at the other awards that have come out from other communities. We went to arbitration for the police contract prior to the last one, and it wasn't pretty. They awarded, frankly, stuff that we thought it was beyond their jurisdiction to award, like an additional amount of money for getting your post certification, your statewide post certification, which we said like that's like the basics of being a police officer. You don't get paid extra to do the basics of your job, but that's not what the JLMC said. And so when we encounter that, we have to say, yeah, maybe in the case of the fire contract, which is the contracted issue here, we're looking at something that's going to potentially have a serious budgetary impact, a budgetary impact we might not know how to pay for right away. But when we looked at the alternatives, when we looked at what was coming out of the JLMC, we would have been in a worse position had we gone to arbitration. I can almost guarantee it. And that's what pushed that scenario. And you will notice now that the teachers union organizations are advocating tooth and nail at the legislature for the ability to go to arbitration, because they know that would be
They'll do better.
That would be much better for them.
Right.
So
All of that is I hate to interrupt you, Chaz.
Sure.
All of that is explained in the report. And
Yes,
I
it is.
go through and see that because Anne was very helpful to me. Charlie was very helpful. So to talk about what's there as if it's not there, I think we need to just go through the
Let's keep going.
Okay, I'll pause. Let me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So I made two comments. I made two notes in the document per what both John said. John Van Scoyak's point was, let the arithmetic, two things. I guess I need to add another. One is that make sure the arithmetic works so it's crystal clear to the reader of how this 5.31 and override reserve fund works and everything like that. Another one was to major cost drivers driven by staffing. That's really what it is, staffing and contracts. I mean, it's pension, it's benefits, and it's contracts.
I would just sum it up as avoid any language that makes it sound like we're saying these things are beyond our ability to control.
Yep.
They're beyond our ability to do it individually. The town can't do it on its own. It can ask, it can negotiate, but
all right. But anyway, okay, we got.
Jesse, just to add to the semantic discussion here, I've always had a problem with the word structural, as I think I pointed out earlier, because it suggests that you can't change it. It's like, you got to change the foundations to put new siding on the house. And to me, the words because it's not a structural deficit. We don't have a deficit. We only have a projected deficit. And I think we
Yeah.
changed it in some places, not in others.
Well,
well,
I
Yeah.
think we've tried, John, but everybody's used to hearing of a structural deficit, so I think it wouldn't help to change the term. If it needs to be better explained than it is in the text, that's a different question.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
We've got both
Yes,
there.
a structural deficit
Projected
is-
structural. That word structural keeps popping up. And I think it basically goes to John VS's point that, it's assumed. I mean, to me, projected budget gap is the appropriate title there. The word structural, I believe, should be deleted because it suggests that we can do nothing about it. It doesn't say that, but it does suggest that.
I'm okay with taking it out of this title. No problem. Janet, you okay with that?
I'm okay with it. I'm just saying we're
Let's
using a
keep going.
term that everybody knows.
Well, I understand.
Yeah, but-
I understand.
But we need to change the discussion. So I think that's one way of doing it.
John,
Yeah, I hear-
feel free to
I hear-
edit as you like.
Yeah. Well, again, it's going to go through iterations, a couple more. So, okay. But anyway, I mean, maybe structural should be in quotes. I don't know. We'll come up with a.
We could put a disclaimer in somewhere in the text saying many people refer to this as structural. You know, we could even suggest why we refer it to something else. But if we so wish.
Okay. So here the report discusses how this deficit becomes a deficit, okay, where our expenses exceed our revenues. Okay, let me take this breakout. I don't know what happened here.
It
Okay.
does its own thing, Jesse. That's
It's
what-
it's from taking it out of the shared drive. Don't worry. All the formatting can be cleaned
It
up.
will do later, yeah.
I got tons to do where the carriage returns aren't with the it's here, the it's and should be on the next line. It messed up the formatting big time. But anyway, that's all fixable. Just I
Yeah,
have to sit
know. It
down
went
for an
through
hour
the
or two
same
with it.
thing. Go ahead.
I'll clean all that up line by line if I have to. It's just super frustrating. Okay, anyway. All right, so here, John, this paragraph that starts, and this is from Janet, again, just so that we know, not just feedback. Many expenses are beyond the town's direct control. So that's basically, again, speaking to this idea that we can't, that's not predictable and that we can't do anything about it. So I'm not sure if we want to, for what John Doggett's saying.
Just a point of order, if I may. Is it possible to get page numbers on this? I'm trying to follow it on a different screen, and
Yeah, sure,
I'm not sure where you are.
Do you have page numbers on yours?
I've got them in the no, I don't. Not on the document, but I've got it on the browser.
Oh, okay, I'll get it in. Give me a second.
And you can also see in the bottom left-hand corner of the shared screen,
Yeah, it says page
John,
6
it says
of
page 6 of 21 there.
I can't see that, unfortunately.
Let me just put page numbers
It's
in.
cut off by the window on my iPad.
Got it.
Okay. There.
Okay, now I can see it.
Yeah, well, that's why we're in a modern software environment here. Okay, good.
Got
good,
it.
good.
I've got it. Thank you very much.
You've got it. Thank you for mentioning it. This whole discussion discusses how, sorry about these discussion twice here, outlines how we get to this deficit. And after these expenses are deducted from projected revenue, the funds are insufficient to cover the costs, let alone accommodate requests for new services. And then this is a table Janet put in on town budget reductions and restoration for the last 5 years by department, does not include the schools.
It's all
has
about, and we
Yes,
discussed the table last time.
yes. So I'm going to keep going in the interest of time just to get through top to bottom one time here. Then another section Janet included here was reserves and free cash. So we have different kind of reserves to be maintained and expended. It's not in the appendix anymore because I ripped out everything in the appendix until we decide what we want to put back. So we'll make that decision as a group, and what we need from the Melissa's presentation to the select board, et cetera, we can drop all those back in as we need them. So there's one on the stabilization fund, one on the budget reserve, one on the liability catastrophe fund, and the overlay reserve.
And
Um,
basically, this whole section is to say why all of the funds that people think we don't need, we can't, and it explains what's by policy and what's by law. At least I attempted to do that, but should all be going through this and editing it. That's why
Yep.
it was on a shared drive.
Yes, well, we're gonna get it reshared, so, okay,
Yeah.
all right, the
Uh,
next, so this, go ahead, this says reserves and free cash, but then we have a section called free cash, Janet, maybe I should take, with the
We
word,
can look at the headings later.
I'll just take this out here
Yeah,
right now.
this is reserves and below is free cash and
Yeah,
again,
got it.
that's the formatting.
Yeah, no problem. So, someone had, oh, John Van Square, go
me.
ahead.
Yeah, briefly. Janet, would it be possible to, within this section, take note of what has the growth in each of these parts of the budget been, and has it been below the 3% growth we expect in revenues or in excess of the 3% growth in revenues?
You're welcome to do that, John. I don't have to be the
Okay.
sole author.
I'll send you
I'm
the
not
calculations.
sure,
I'll send you.
and Melissa's
I'll send you the calculations. I just think it's a very useful, thing to have to put in
And John,
context.
if you have those numbers, put it in.
I'm going to, but I want you to be able to review them, so I'll send them to you.
I don't have to be the one to review it. This is a committee
Right,
Yeah.
exercise. I
Yeah.
put down, my goal was to get a lot of the text down because nobody
Yeah.
else likes to write.
Okay.
okay, I put it in here, John, so there's a placeholder, okay?
Yeah,
And then I'll get this shared somehow, either through Google or back on the shared drive or something, we'll figure it out. All right, there's a paragraph about free cash. I think the most important part about this is that it explained to the public that, this is not a gold pot that we're sitting around like hiding or, covering up and not letting anyone look at. There's a reason for it. It's called free, but that's not because it's, ready to be spent. I guess that's the understanding people have about it. Okay, so, would it make sense here to, Janet, to add in something about what it is now or what it's been the last year or two? I think that was in one of Melissa's slides, in fact.
Yeah, what I noticed in some of the corrections I sent yesterday or the other day is I was very focused on text, but there's also dollar amounts available. So I can say what it is now. Projected for 2027 was in 2026. And Melissa, can you give me a real quick answer? Has it been is it fairly consistent number or does it depend on extraneous things?
So recently it's been higher than normal because of the interest rate environment.
Right.
And,
Okay.
we've also seen some spikes in building permit activity, which obviously when the economy shrinks, that reduces as well. So I would say within the last, 3 to 4 years, it's been higher than normal.
Okay.
Well, what's its general level right now, though?
So we're projecting in fiscal 27, 20.2.
I remembered that number. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I can pull the numbers out of your charts. I've spent more time looking
Good.
at old budget books than I did when I was on advisory. So,
It may
Okay,
also be
and
worth
this-
adding here, just the state Department of Revenue says that your free cash every year should be between 5 and 7% of your your prior year's annual revenue. And we're right in the middle of that. We're around
I
6%.
thought I had that. So somewhere in one of the edits, it disappeared.
5 to 7%,
Yep.
Jess? Of what again?
Of prior year's revenue.
Oh, prior year's revenue. Okay. All right, we'll clean it up. We have it here.
So, Chaz, who's making that recommendation?
The state's Department of Revenue. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
We're right in the middle. I'm sure I had it in there, but God knows.
Yeah, it could be somewhere else in there. Let's, whatever. Okay. No, I'm glad. This is why we're trying to get top to
Going
bottom,
through
because
this.
with the people here on this call, we can like drop in, nuggets as we go through, and then when we, we'll sort of know by the end, in 20 or 30 minutes, do we have, or like where are the gaps and stuff? Okay. So that's on the reserve. Okay, budget pressures. So, staff salaries, along with, a table Janet got on personnel budgets and FTEs over the last 6 years, 7 years.
Right. And that also we looked at last time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Some of this I might want to move into shorter paragraphs, like so people aren't bogged down in a long paragraph. I might put some line breaks in there or something. Anyway, okay. So we talked about that last time. The contracts. All right. Now the JLMC process that Chaz had talked about, and this is a plot. I'm not sure we talked about this last time, but I did.
We did
we
not.
didn't.
This is new.
Right. Okay.
So
Go ahead.
I was going to say the brownish line in the middle is the CPI that Ann gave me. All
Okay.
of the contracts except public safety are well below that consistently. And then you get police and fire, which or JLM, whatever it is, the arbitration.
Yep.
Starting with police, and then the fire got there, well, we know we're not going to do well because what they did with the police was extraordinary. And so all of that gets explained as well as being shown.
Janet,
Melissa.
Yeah.
The
Melissa,
police,
yeah,
the police
go ahead, Tom.
line, the blue line, seems to cross the orange line, which I guess is fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's below the CPI. It's a difficult chart to read.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I believe it's right. I took the chart and gave me the actual union contract increases.
Because the only increase above the CPI, according to this chart, is the fire.
Yeah, this one. Right.
I'm sorry, the brown one is the
The brown
CPI.
one is the CPI, this one here.
Right.
So the only
Yeah.
one that he's remarking, I think that this one here.
Yeah, the
fire
blue.
one for 24. The blue is police.
The blue is police.
Yeah.
But it's below the CPI according to this. Well,
Everything is below the CPI,
forward.
but everything seems to be below the CPI because it jumped up so much in 23. But police and fire are well above the other unions because of the JLMC. So the other
here,
unions only jumped in 1 year because that was in response to, I mean, they had like a 1% increase, and then the contracts were renegotiated and it jumped, but didn't stay up. Whereas police and fire those are the budget busters.
Yeah, the chart doesn't say that though. To me, I mean, I'm just reading the chart as it's very difficult to read, by the way.
We can take it out
wonder,
and I put it in because I think showing the contract increases, the data itself, nobody's going to look at or understand. This is an attempt at a graph. It is not the greatest graph.
We may want to annotate the graph with some circles with the number, and then
I mean,
actually
the benchmark line is very difficult to read, so it needs to be dotted or changed, waved or something.
Right. So I would ask someone else to do that because I haven't done these things in well over 10 years. The software that I used to know how to use is very, very different. So someone else is going to be able to fix it easier than I can.
All right, maybe let me just make a note. Let me just make a note that we'll try to, let's try to attempt to
okay, this is a
to create a
picture.
better. Yeah,
And
I know.
No, I'm happy to send anyone, if you're going to play with it, you're going to need the data and the original, and just tell me and I'll send it to whomever's going to do it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm happy to take a look at it with John, actually, if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy
moving
to do
up,
that.
Jesse,
I can do the changing of the how it's presented, but I'm worried about the actual data points at the moment. But let's take it offline, and Jesse, and maybe we should take a look at that separately.
Yeah.
All right, so Janet, just send it to both of us,
data.
please. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I will.
I will take a look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Melissa, I'm sorry, you had your hand up.
I just want to note that, that while this is an interesting measurement, the contracts versus the CPI, you just can't forget that this is not total compensation, and that, benefits do factor into when we're making our arguments at the table. We're also, acknowledging the fact that we are paying 83% of healthcare. So to the extent that we are below the CPI, it is likely because the other funds that we have available are going towards healthcare.
I'm not sure anybody really kept up with CPI. So let me just say what the purpose is so that whoever wants to amend it can do it. It's basically the town has kept salary increases except for the 1 year in response to that jump in CPI, pretty much below 3%. Except for police and fire that had extraneous help in their so-called negotiations. That is, they had a big stick. So that was the intent of this. I will send John and Jesse the data. I don't particularly have pride of ownership. I just wanted to get something down on paper so we could have
Of
something to
course,
talk about.
of
So
course, of
let's
course.
go
And I
on.
mean, yeah, and then to Melissa's point, is there a additional source of data, Melissa, that you're offering us that we can utilize to better represent the overall picture?
I think you just need to either note the growth in benefits
Benefits.
over the same course of time as well.
Okay,
additional data
okay,
points.
yep. Craft a picture. Okay, that's great.
Melissa, John here. On the prior, we were discussing the prior chart on the page 8, I guess it is, which is basically showing FY19, FY26 salary budget. I've got 2 questions. One is, it sounds like we might want to add to that, or other columns which reference the GIs, the health and the pensions, and also, is the data available for FY20 through 25 so that a graph could be drawn as to show the increase in salary? And I don't know if it's meaningful, but it may be an easy way of looking at the data.
Yeah, we have the pension and group health costs at the same time period as well.
So you could send that to us?
Yep.
Well, basically, John, this is about salaries, so I wouldn't complicate this chart. It's showing that.
No, it'll be a different chart.
It'll be a different chart. Yeah, I'm trying to look.
Fine.
I'm trying to look at both of these charts and make sure that, first of all, that the point, it should reflect the point we're trying to make. And,
Yes.
and at the moment, it doesn't do that. It's too confusing. And our goal will be to straighten that out. And hopefully we've got a graph that makes sense, that makes visual sense, I should say.
I would say, from the best of my recollection, I talk about pensions, but there's not a talk about growth in health insurance. So maybe someone should add a section on that.
We should.
There should be a separate growth in, and I didn't focus on it because that affects both sides. And so if you're talking, other than saying it grows by what we're told, and we're limited because that's again changing I didn't even talk a lot about the split between the town and the employees, because that's again governed by, it needs to be negotiated with staff. That's governed by whatever the rules of the GIC are. I talk about that, but I don't show the graph. So,
Okay, we got
let's
it.
keep going.
Okay.
All right, yeah. So I'm just putting in points here so we'll know to refill. Okay. Okay. So we were down at this guy. Fine. We know we have a plan there. And John, you and I can work on annotating this in some way so that it's much clearer to so you don't need a master's degree to figure it out. Okay, anyway.
Right.
All right, the overtime pressure. This is pretty much about fire department.
Right.
Okay. The next one is on group health insurance. We were just talking about that. And we put in here this expectation, Chaz, okay, expectation of a 10 to 12% annual growth going forward. I guess to the discussion we just had, we could add in here that plot that we're going to use based on data that Melissa offered to provide us, to share with us on what it's been the last 4 or 5 years and where it's going now, so people see the growth trend. Yes, Chaz.
I just wanted to add, or flag in the overtime. We did have a substantial police overtime reserve fund transfer last year. We think we have a better handle on that now. But we would say, I mean, maybe there is just a flag in there that the chief does think that in the absence of being able to restore the 6 officers' positions that are currently being held open, that you're likely to see more volatility in overtime in the police budget going forward. So one of the things that the request tries to address is that volatility in overtime, the potential of volatility in overtime that the police department would face if we cut those positions permanently.
Somewhere we have to make sure we said that we were holding those 6 positions and they might be gone. I don't remember if it's referred to above, but if we're gonna talk about it, which is fine, we need to make sure people know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's mentioned in a few places, but we'll, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, again, it's sort of,
Another
here again.
placeholder.
Yeah, another placeholder, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, fine. Another placeholder. Thank you. Thanks, Chaz, for bringing that up in this point. I appreciate it. All right, the group health insurance, we might want to add, I'll just leave a note that we want to add the plot, add the growth plot, the growth trend plot here. Okay. Sorry.
It's all right, Jesse, you don't have to be 100% spelling accurate.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, then retiree benefits. We've got pensions to fund the outstanding pension liability. I have a question here.
Okay,
if
this is not the one, I revised this in what I sent you the other day, which puts dollar amounts in. And I also sent those revisions to Sergio, who's talking a lot about OPEBs, and he thought that they were good. So I don't know if what I sent you the other day addresses your questions, and I'm not sure I'll remember it off the top of my head, but go ahead.
well, oh, yeah, well, in the interest of time, I want to, let's get to, I mean, I don't want to bring your other document out right now, or unless you want to, and I can
No,
bring it
I'm
up.
just saying your questions might have been answered in it.
My biggest question with this, if I'm Joe Jane Citizen, walking in and looking at this report, okay, in Coolidge Corner is, what does an outstanding pension liability mean? It does not discuss it in the paragraph. If I'm just a regular person and I want to, I hear about this unfunded pension liability, I think we need to say, no, we don't need to give them a math formula, but I think we do need to say something, Janet, about our unfunded pension liability in Brookline is difference between how much, how many employees we've added and the pension that we owe them and that we don't have the funding to do it, or whatever that means. That is not in this paragraph.
Okay, so I don't remember, because I know I said more things. I can put in a sentence
Let me
that
see if I have it.
explains more about what it is, but my understanding is that new employees, we're including that liability as we go. The unfunded part is the history of sort of like Social Security. It was pay as you go. So if I'm hired today, when Melissa budgets for my pension, she's assuming it through the time I retire and forever after. The unfunded part is what happened before. So no, I can put in more explanation.
All right, I have yours up here now. Okay.
Yeah, no, it didn't address your question.
Right, but
And I will put in an explanation, but
yeah, I'm going to add that. I will add that in. The question is, can we just take this number that this numeric information, which is extremely important, I think. Let me add that in now since I've got it open. I'm happy to move it to the document that we're looking at, okay? No reason not to. Okay, I'll worry about the formatting later. So I'm just gonna put in a piece here that add a I don't know, simple definition.
Yeah,
of
no,
what-
I can. It's interesting because Sergio pointed it out about OPEBs, and I went back and I took away liability and explained what that means. And nobody said anything about this, but in my head, it's perfectly understandable, but that's not the average person reading it. Lincoln has his hand up, as does JVS.
Thank you. I'm okay. Yeah. Oh, Lincoln. Sorry. Yes. You're muted.
You're
Still
still
muted,
muted.
Lincoln. Well, let's go to John and then we'll come back.
Okay, thanks. Jesse, you and I had an exchange this week over these numbers for FTEs. And
Yes.
I think Janet was included in that, but Janet maybe not. And if not, I apologize. As I explained in that exchange, the numbers I used for FTEs are directly from the financial plans for the various years, which are FY19 through FY26. And those numbers don't really marry up with the numbers in Janet's chart, although they kind of marry up in terms of the total increase in all FTEs, including the so-called soft money FTEs. But the numbers I had are 762 for FY19. And as I say, these are directly from, the financial plans for those years. 762
John, I'm
for
sorry if I could
FY19.
interrupt. I did explain at the last town sub ENRSC that
Yeah.
those numbers are all funds, meaning they include the water and sewer enterprise fund, the recreation revolving fund,
Okay.
and the and so anyway, they include non-general fund. And so those really don't have a significant impact on the deficit. Now, and I did offer to true those up and say, here's how you crosswalk those.
Yeah.
This
Charlie,
is the
excuse me,
additional.
I should have remembered that. The only other thing I'll add is I'm not sure that of this, but it seems like we're begging the question of whether there is in fact in the budget that's being proposed for FY27 some coverage of so-called soft money positions with with hard money positions.
So and there is in the
Yeah.
FY26 budget book, if you go to the FTE page, if you scroll past that chart, which has the breakdown of soft money FTEs all the way to the bottom to the all funds chart, you'll see the numbers that you pulled. And so what I am planning to do in the FY27 book is put under that all funds chart. Just know this includes non-general fund. I mean, the financial plan includes, it has sections for the enterprise and revolving funds. And, per our accreditation of the budget document that we get every year, we need to express how much is in those other funds. But if you scroll up a little bit above the all funds chart, there is a breakdown of the soft money FTEs, and it's been there since FY25.
Yeah, no, I get that, Charlie. All I'm saying is if we're going to ask people for override monies, will any of those override monies go toward covering positions that move from soft money to general fund
True.
money
Understood.
Right.
in
That's a good flag.
FY27?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good flag.
Suggest-
The answer right now is no.
Okay, and I would suggest, I'm not sure it's in here, that I will go back and make sure there's a clear explanation that we are talking about the operating budget and that these are supplemented by, because I know that specific statement is not in there, supplemented by revolving funds and some soft money grants, but the override, anything we're talking about is specifically the operating budget. I already went in one place and clarified 83% operating budget. And so I don't remember where that is. So I made myself a note to explain that. I'll find the place to put it in. I'm not sure we need to repeat it on that chart. I don't remember if the heading says operating, but it needs to.
That's great. And Chaz, I wonder, what did you mean by for the not now? I mean, not currently or not right now.
Right.
When you said,
I think this is just a question in general, as a good rule of thumb, you don't want permanent costs on soft money. You don't want permanent things on soft money, because it doesn't reflect the total of these things. And Melissa just texted me and reminded me, I misspoke, because we are actually moving positions off soft money. The positions we're moving off soft money is sustainability.
Right.
So there's the sustainability positions, which are grant funded, would be moved from soft money to the operating budget. So that's my oversight. I'm just I'm so used to thinking about sustainability in a different way that
Yeah. No, I get that.
but
Yeah.
that's sorry. But yes, in general, you want to keep those positions that you're going to want to keep on in your operating budget so you can accurately reflect those costs and you don't run into trouble when the money goes away. With that said, we do the positions that we are currently have that are grant funded. Either in some of those positions, the money is long range. So you've got either, for example, opioid settlement funds, which have a 10+ year horizon. And the positions that we are funding with that money relate to that project of, opiates, stabilization, ensuring that, kids, the programming that keeps kids off drugs at the high school and so forth. Like that's what we fund with opioid settlement funds. The other situations are situations that are, more tenuous than they used to be. The biggest being community development block grant. But that we just, the trying to move that entire grant onto the operating budget is not feasible under the current conditions, right? It would be a large amount of money. And
Yeah.
when we think about what we need to keep the lights on, unfortunately, that falls outside of it. But
Yeah.
John, some of that is explained later down when we're talking about initiatives from town meeting. And then some of it, I think, is or needs to be in when we're actually discussing what's in the override and what's not in the override. And those sections didn't exist when I wrote this, and I haven't had a chance to really go through them.
But they're in there. Yeah, they're sort of in there now. Let's go to Lincoln, and then we're halfway through the document, and I'd like to continue. So let's begin to move on after Lincoln's comment.
Sorry about that. I was disabled earlier. I couldn't unmute myself. But I just wanted to, but prior to Janet's comment, Janet, you and I can talk offline. But you have it correct in essence what the unfunded liability is. That is to say that the cost of pensions that has not of past promised retirement benefits that have not yet been funded. In essence, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll stick that sentence in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Oh, and we have it in the recording too, so we can grab it just like you said it. That's great. Thank you, Lincoln. All right, so okay, OPEBs, I put the comment in that you already put in your other document, Janet, in the edits about it'll be in the futures and stuff like that. Okay, the next one was town meeting initiatives. So resolutions that request services. There are 7 here, and I wasn't going to discuss any of them in the meeting
also
here.
been totally replaced in the document that I sent because I got some of the information from Charlie.
Okay,
And
let's fix it then.
yeah,
Here.
this is a whole new section.
I'm going to take it right now and dump it in on top of it. Thank you very much. Let's just do it. We're here. I don't, that way, at least your documents.
You missed, yeah, let's see.
So all of this?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, yeah, yeah. Fine. Got it.
I think somewhere in there, it talks about pilot programs take on a life. I'm not sure if that sentence is in there or not. A lot of things that I think about in the middle of the night don't survive the light of day.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to go through
We'll
it and
have
see.
Yeah, you have to format it. I had trouble formatting it to get it.
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
So
I understand.
Waste a lot of time on these things.
I understand. Okay, so anyway, these are the 4 you had in there, and then there was a paragraph. I'll fix the paragraph. Your paragraph said other to police cruisers, and this goes from other to police cruisers.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yep. And Charlie,
fine.
if you could take a look at that, and I'll send you the language outside the document to make sure.
Oh, that's another one. All right, this is another one that's
yeah.
A guy like that. Okay, let me clean it up very quickly. And this one. Okay. And then
did we leave out, can you go up so that the introduction, I think there's some verbiage before the actual detail, and want to make sure that that stayed. Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
let me just. Yeah, somehow I got to get. I will figure out why we've got such a huge
yeah,
space between the two. I'll fix it. Don't
that
worry. It's
was
all
at
fixed.
least a half hour of my time, but
I understand. It's great. Moving between the platforms is a
a nightmare.
challenging. Yeah, it is. Well, I will get this document cleaned up like today. Okay, so then there's one on inflation.
So, yeah, and
Again,
I don't know
that's
if that
all
needs to, I just threw these paragraphs in after we talked, Jesse, and didn't
soft
have
money.
to see if they needed to be expanded. So I think the group needs to look at the two of them to see if there's more that,
Okay, well, at
needs to
least
be said.
everybody's seeing it at one time as we
Right.
get down towards the end of this. Property tax trends. Okay. New growth contributing about 1% per year to the tax base, reducing the burden on existing homes. What John and I talked about during the week was, I don't know if that 1% is enough actually, right, to keep us floating. So that's okay. Major projects like Waldo Durgan being delayed. Okay, so this is basically just
It ain't gonna continue. I took that 1%. I don't know if Lincoln wants to comment. I basically broke his chart down that he sent me, and it seemed like the base revenue was growing about 1% more than, it was growing at about 3.5%. So I assume that was new growth.
I'm not sure what is the purpose of this chart. I find it very difficult. Again, I'm not sure what the point
It's
is.
showing how much of the tax increase is not from operating overrides, which is what we're talking about. But much of it has, that's the gray line, much of it is in debt exclusions. And so it comes out of people's pockets and my taxes are going up, but we're talking about apples and oranges. That's why it's in here. Dick
Okay, well, that's a good
Benka,
point.
Dick
But this-
Benka,
this-
I believe, is doing the actual impact on individual homeowners. But that's why it's here. I sent this section to Dick to make sure it matched with his, didn't overlap, that he knew what was in the town side as he was working on, this is what it's going to mean for the individual taxpayer.
This chart Janet, this chart needs restating. The point is completely lost. The point's a good one, but I don't see where it is. You know what I mean? Is it the gray bars I'm meant to be looking at? I'm not sure about that. They're going down. Yeah.
You mean there's no discussion? There's no discussion about what the chart means. There's no.
Well,
word.
it's unclear. Even if you try and tease it apart and concentrate on it, what are we trying to show? I mean, in general, the levy is going down a little bit. The 2.5% new growth is flat to down. I'm not sure what conclusion I'm meant to draw from it.
And is
Okay, I'll put in an
the
explanation above it. I think that's what you're saying, John. You don't understand why.
No. I think it's more fundamental than that. That's true, but I think that the question is, what are we trying to show, and then make the chart reflect that with the coloring or the weighting or whatever.
All right,
then,
so I will send you and Jesse the
Yes,
view
please.
that this is drawn from. But what it's trying to show is the overall levy has grown, but much of it has been because of debt exclusions, which is not why we need an increase in taxes. But what you've seen is not because we're not spending our money wisely. It's because we've borrowed so much.
well, it's complete. The point on the graph is that point is completely lost.
And I will put some language in, and you guys can do it when you work on the chart itself.
Yeah, I think if you got the language, Janet, if you got the language, i.e. the point that's trying to be made, then our job is to fit the illustration to make that point.
All right, I have a note to put in the language, and I will send you the chart.
The data, yeah. Thank you, Janet, and thank you, John, for pointing it out. Okay, the override paragraph. I think you added one thing here, Janet.
I added that
COVID. Yeah, the impact of an override here. I'm just going to edit it here. I know it'll mess up the formatting, but too bad. It's all messed up.
Yeah.
Oh, that one worked that time. Amazing. All right, this one's messed up. I'll fix it later. Okay, debt exclusions. Did you make any changes there? Let me double check.
I did. I think I.
Yes,
did- Yes,
yes,
just,
through this, and what is this? Estimate is projected. I'll just take the whole thing and we'll just replace it. We'll just, and I think that's the end. Yeah, yeah, okay, let me close, let me go back out of that.
What are we
Probably
saying
shouldn't be-
about debt exclusions now?
Probably shouldn't be sharing my school committee screen there. Okay, anyway, debt exclusion. Now, what can you do? We're trying our best, okay?
I'm having a problem with the sentence. Why are we still got? Are we rewriting this paragraph?
No, she
I
had,
just added something that says how much it's gonna go up next year, because we're getting the last bit. As far as I understand it, next year is gonna be the next big jump, and that's because the end of Pierce and the end of the fire stations.
fire station. I think I messed, I think,
Is the sentence which is underlined on my version here?
Yeah.
I'm looking at, it says debt exclusions do not affect the structural deficit, but are a
Right.
major part of the increase to annual tax bills amounting to approximately 10%. I find that to be questionably true. I.e., if we got rid of all the debt, we would not have a problem. So I don't see that when it says does not affect the structural debt, doesn't make any sense.
The structural deficit, which you don't like the term, is in the operating fund. So if you eliminated all the debt, the gap between what we need to spend to provide the level of service we now do and the money that we're able to take in would still be there.
So independent variable. Okay, so because
I would suggest, John, that offline you and Jesse make whatever edits you want. I will send you, I think.
I'm just trying to read this from the voter's point of view. That's what I'm trying to do. And and to some extent it is the voters' fault in the sense that they voted for the debt exclusions.
Exactly.
And so you can't complain about that.
Yeah, so maybe that's part of the explanatory sentence that belongs before the chart, and or maybe the chart just needs to be moved at the end of both of those sections. You and Jesse.
But isn't the loan service part of the operating?
It's
It is, but the funding is coming, it's basically the funding is isolated from the rest of the operating budget because the levy is able to raise the amount of the debt service payment. And when the debt is paid off, the levy will go back down.
Right. Have we ever seen that?
That's the way that debt exclusions work. So
Yeah,
essentially,
no, I know.
yeah, John,
levy.
it happened up until Ridley. I mean, when we approved Ridley, the last batch of renovations on the high school was just coming off.
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. I think we just it's probably a wording issue, and I think that
Yeah.
We're gonna go through John, when you and I are looking at the data, we can go through these sections as well.
Yeah.
All right, then
All
I'm
right.
not going to do anything with the sections. I'll leave it up to you.
For that section, yeah. For that section. Okay, efficiencies. Level funding counts contribute unfunded liability for retiree health, et cetera, et cetera. They can't be maintained over the long term without resulting in service reductions and higher costs. This table outlines potential savings even with an override. All right, so this should probably be bolded for something. Okay. So is this current, and do we explain this correctly?
So it's current. The one big change, so the one, and I mean, I think actually the town team is going to circle back and talk about this offline in advance of the budget book. We're talking about the last two things that you see down there, OPEBs and CIP. As part of the budget book, given the conversations that have happened in this committee and with the select board, we're moving towards implementing that in the budget. So it would be reflected as savings taken. And so that would have the practical impact of dropping the gap because you would increase the amount of revenue available to the town by $976,000. But it doesn't solve the problem. It's just a different way of accounting for it.
Yes.
So we're still we're going to have some we're going to talk about what that looks like in practice.
All right, we can circle back to this table.
Yes, but the long and the short of it is, yes, this number has not, this is not shifted.
So the right-hand column are projected dollar savings.
Yes.
Okay, I just, because there's no heading, I don't think, it's a picture, so I can't
And
really.
and I will say though, as we put together the budget book, this
Yeah.
document, this graph will be replaced by something that goes into more detail. So we'll
Okay.
do that.
Okay, so Jesse, at this point, I just make a note that says, will be replaced once the budget.
Yep, I got it. Thank you. Okay, good. And so this is a total savings. What's the point of saying even with an override? I mean, these are just savings. It doesn't matter whether there's an override or not. These numbers are what the town's plan is in terms of reducing some cost, right, Chaz? So why do we need to say even with an override? I don't
Well,
know.
I think, this is when people ask, right? So if the point of this is to say, what is the town doing before going to the voters and asking for more money? The answer is we're tightening our belts. We are making cuts where we think we can avoid damage to core services. They're still not, and we'll talk about this in the budget book. They're still not cuts we love to make.
Right, of course.
But they're given our budget situation and the desire to stay at the same, at or below the
All
same
right.
amount of money we
Got
had
it.
last time. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Janet, do you have a point about this one before we go on?
No.
All right. The potential town revenue sources to be completed. I don't know why this is not a heading or something. It should be something. Okay, we'll figure it out. Not sure if it's still in the to completed status either. In addition to property tax revenue, items will remain are the sources of revenue for the town, local receipts, one-time funds, state aid. This explains what's going on. This table to replace, okay, here again, this table, I believe the 354 is sort of older. Revenues is misspelled in the title. I'm assuming we're going to get an updated one at some point.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's okay.
Next week. Yes.
Yeah, next week. Okay, great. Okay. Override proposal to be completed. I mean, not sure why we need that section. So, but let's just get to the end. We're basically towards the end here now. All right, proposed cuts without an override. So what we're saying here is predicted in the absence, the town would suffer a reduction of 18 FTE. The table below, and I put Chaz here, this is a sample, describes the overall look of such reductions. This is the table we had before. Again, sample, not final, so we need an upgraded one.
Yep.
Showing the it doesn't give you the 18 FTEs here though. This is a
No, so
situation.
that's the override proposal. That's so it's not the
Right,
that's just
okay.
the wrong table there, which is okay. I can get you that table.
I have
right,
a
yeah.
question before we go on for the table. It's what you're talking about, but can you bring the chart up a little bit, Jesse?
Yeah. Yes.
Just scroll down to the chart.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
All right, so you're saying that as of now, we're not going to add anything to roadway repair and maintenance?
Not right now.
Okay, that's an important thing for voters to understand, since that's a main thing that they keep saying they're concerned about.
Yeah.
That even with an override and everything else, it's going to continue to lag. And every time it continues to lag, the cost of those repairs increases.
I think I agree with
very-
you. It's important, and the explanation that we have and, a debate whether to include this. The select board and DPW just implemented this new pavement management plan last year. Since then, the amount, our dollars have gone further than they have before, because rather than focusing on high impact transformative projects, we now have two different tiers of work that we do. We still do some of those high impact transformative projects, but we also are just paving more roads. So our
I
dollars
would
now
make a
go further.
suggestion, since this is something I put in under inflation, people need to look at what I said about inflation.
Mhm.
And this is something we're doing to deal with it, should go up in that section. So that, and I'll take a stab at it, but that's not anything that, I mean, we basically just put something in because we knew we needed to talk about it. would appreciate if you could tell me, and then I'll redo that thing on inflation. I remembered roads and I remembered IT, but it would help if you could, or Charlie, just send me a blurb as to how to flesh out that section a little bit. Because
Yeah, definitely.
No, who is this calling, please?
Hey,
Oh.
Chaz,
Yeah.
just a quick note. I know and I think a lot of other people would find it very useful if our processes at some point, either in the budget book or the budget book, and the annual report, et cetera, would separate out the Chapter 90 funds that are received and how they were used. Because, that's where you could definitely track, like, what are the costs of typical road repaving and repair in Brookline versus on other communities, typical paving and repair projects. You'd have a separate set of the projects that are done using Chapter 90 funds.
I'll take that back to DPW. I don't know necessarily if we break out, because Chapter 90, is just, it's a grant. It's basically, it's an amount of money
Yeah,
that we get.
yeah,
And we take that as we take any funds that we receive, and we use them, we kind of commingle them, right? So I don't know if we're
yeah,
trying to
I know. That's what I find confusing. Because, it's a one set of road repair budget that is universal across all municipalities. And yet there's no way I can see what kind of bang for the buck does Brookline get from Chapter 90 funds versus any of our neighboring communities.
Well, I think you might, I don't necessarily know if the measure is Chapter 90, if it might be a more complex measurement than that, because maybe you want to look at what's what's the overall amount of money that they get on their, for their roads, and then how many miles are paved or something like that. But again, you're not looking at apples to apples comparisons in terms of the complexity of projects, in terms of, right, we don't, it can be misleading. But I get what you're trying to, what you're asking,
Yeah,
how can we show how efficiently we're using our money in terms of roads? And so let us take that back and think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's hard to come up with something, but I hear what you're asking. Let us think about it.
okay,
All
thanks.
right. I've got 10 minutes, so,
let's
and
keep
I'm,
going.
yep, recommendation. Okay, we're at the sort of the end there. Recommendation on the override. Again, this is older framework material that has to be rewritten. The proposed amount, again, town side only, one-time tax increase, 5.31 million, equal to the budget, we could call it, instead of structural gap. It's fine. It's just budget gap, but for what John has, it's fine. Budget gap in, not gonna, it's fine in 27, and to fund an override reserve fund for addressing fiscal challenges in both 28 and 29. Covers recurring obligations, avoid service reductions while providing a state, well, avoids, it doesn't really avoid service reductions. It covers recurring obligations and avoids some service reductions.
Serious
I mean,
service reductions.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. All right, are we going to put in some kind of allocate? This allocation plan looks a lot like this table. So I'm not sure we need it, unless we want to leave it as a placeholder to put in our planning for 28 and 29 there as well. What will happen in each of these? These are some areas that I pulled out of Melissa's slides in
So
terms of,
I read the allocation plan as being what's in each of the 3 years, and a
right,
place to explain that whole upper table.
yes, this one.
The one with the detail that doesn't get to 5.3. I think the detail without the sustainability fund, maybe. I'm very confused. I think it's important to be able to say that many of these costs have to be in year one. You can't say you're gonna fund the police and the fire well, the one that doesn't happen till 28, maybe you can. It just needs to be clear which of the
Right.
items in the override are in year one, and and more information about the stabilization fund. and how it will be used. And if it's not needed, what happens to those monies? All of that needs to somehow be written. We don't have to talk about it now.
Right.
My goal, and I can do this with you offline, Janet, or we could do this, or Jesse, you and I have
Yeah.
traded emails on this. We can talk
Yeah.
about that.
Okay.
That's coming together now. We're starting to drill down on what that number, how that
Okay,
number is
and
gonna work.
you don't need to do it with me if you're doing it with Jesse. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure it's in there because
Well, the
I
three
don't
of us could get
understand
together. I
what's in
mean,
there now.
yeah, Janet, the three of us could get together and talk it through. I like the idea, not this view, but a view of for first year, second year, third year across, here's, different departments, here's where the money's gonna be. So
Right,
people know precisely what's going on. Full transparency, that's all.
okay, so
Yeah.
keep going.
Yes.
We got 7 minutes, Jesse.
Yeah. No pressure, but oh my God, I feel under pressure. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't
No,
check my
I
blood
don't-
pressure.
I don't understand why the different scenarios is different than showing this is what happens with an override and this is what happens without an override.
Are you jumping ahead a little bit? But here, use of override funds new
Okay.
versus local service. No plans for significant expansion or new programs absorbing fixed cost growth or preventing cuts.
Right.
Cliff Brown's working on the community impact analysis.
Actually, I
Yeah.
think that's David, I think it's Dick Benka. Somewhere I thought I heard in the full committee meeting that I missed that he said he's working on it, but somebody else is working on.
We'll figure it out.
means. Yeah,
Somebody else other than us is working on it. I had some stuff in there, but, and
Yeah.
again, the other impact piece has to do with the property tax increase, and Melissa told me she's gonna have something soon
Right.
for us to drop in here. So let me put that in here too, MG to provide the property tax increase table. Okay, fine. Different scenarios.
yeah, I don't see why this is different from saying this is what's gonna happen and have to be cut with an override and this is what's gonna be cut without an override. I don't see how this is different from what we've already done.
What do you mean? We haven't discussed what will happen yet.
In the upper sections, you're showing
one?
what's cut. There's something
Yeah.
that says this is what we're gonna have to reduce anyway, so that we're minimizing the override. We're
Yes.
showing in detail, this is what will
Oh.
happen without an override. So I don't understand what scenario 1 and scenario 2 will do that's different from that. That's my question. So
What
maybe they
I,
just need to be put in the same place.
we need to put them in the same place, Emma, because what I put in here was that if
Yeah,
with
that's
no
fine.
over,
I don't need an explanation.
Right.
You've answered my
here's
question.
here's our predicted FTE impact with no override in each of the
Perfect.
3 years, 44 FTEs.
Perfect, and all of that's gonna be revised. It just all needs to be in one place and not a separate
Right, the
section.
event,
That's fine.
also in the event of it not being passed on the FT, besides FTE, the service cuts in FY 27 would be each of these items and the impact I put in here, okay, Janet?
Yeah, no, I haven't had a chance to read it. It was really just a formatting issue.
Okay,
so
and then
that
for the next year, there was fire department and sustainability, we'll let you know, this will close, whatever, okay.
Right,
And then there'll be service cuts, even if the override is passed, fire prevention operations, full-time training with HR, vacant plumbing
Right.
position.
Vacant planning, not plumbing, sorry.
Did you say planning here? And I
I
meant.
did say planning there, or maybe I mistyped, but no, it is a
No,
planning.
I think you gave me plumbing. Okay, whatever, it
All
doesn't
right, yeah,
matter.
no, it wasn't. Charlie. Simmons
That's
was
why we're
getting
going
it.
over this.
it's
Okay.
the leap,
Um,
fellas.
That's okay. We both had,
Yeah.
plumbers have to plan and planners plumb out the details of things, so it's okay.
Um,
All right,
I
and then
like
conclusion recommendations is our last section. We have three minutes. We'll leave 1 minute to set our next meeting and any new business. So again, some of this may end up at the top. There's going to be futures coming in with the recommendations, schools coming in with the recommendations. So there's going to be a lot of wordsmithing to be done here, but we face we could say we're just recurring budget deficit. I'm fine with John's suggestion to take out structural here. It's just recurring budget deficit that that cannot be resolved through cost savings, efficiency, or one-time funding. Permitting override will help to maintain current service levels. It will not be alone to solve our annual budget deficit. It is important we invest in a stable budget. By that time, hopefully, some new commercial residential developments will satisfy our pension obligations. The unions will come to agreement to reduce the current health cost split to a more equitable balance, and investment in renewable energy will have a positive impact in the out years. An override question for this amount of money with X additional revenue, we don't know yet. And then the last sentence is brings the property tax increase in the first year increases will be held at a typical plus any new growth allowance. And that's it. So we got to the bottom. Thank God. So good. So two questions. First of all, thank you to everybody for hanging in the extra 20 minutes or so. Next one, before John speaks, is that we need to agree that our next meeting will be next Thursday at 9, okay? And I'm happy to ask Nicole to make it 90 minutes, just so that because we seem to use the 90 minutes very efficiently. So Nicole, if you could do that 9 to 10:30, that would be good. And then the third part is, what does the group feel, or do you want to just leave it to me to figure out how to share this now so that it's as easy for people to collaborate on this as we can between the 3 or 4 of us here on the committee? Otherwise, I'll just talk to you offline about it. Okay.
Just what I would suggest, until we figure out how to do this efficiently, that we send any revisions to you and you plop them
Fine.
in rather than
That's
it's all
fine.
working.
I don't have time at the moment right here because of what time it is to
Right.
look at to show you. I read Sergio's. They're fine. I don't think there are any issues there. I could certainly put them in with an SG with a SM on it and put them in a bracket or something, but and then we'll clean them out after we look at them so that you guys get to see what he put in. Okay, I can certainly do that. Okay. Okay, John, and then we'll
Thank you,
Which
Dick.
John?
Yeah.
Van Scoyac.
JVS. I appreciate that Janet started to refer to me as JVS. I like that. I want to strongly suggest, first of all, I find the chart on page 12, I understand John Doggett's reservations about it, but I find it to be an extremely important chart that we need to keep, even if tweaked slightly. And furthermore, and this is kind of aimed at Melissa, if you'll forgive me, Melissa.
She's off, I think.
If she's off, then maybe Chaz could carry the message. I think we should add the projected figures, the chart graph figures for FY27 with the proposed override, and the projected impacts as a bar chart without the requested override. So
which graph are you referring to, though? The property increase to tax levy?
The percentage increase to the tax levy.
Yeah.
Okay, now keep going. Okay, because I wasn't sure which one. Okay, the page numbers changed. So what do you need now?
The
Extend the
projected
graph.
the percentage increase to the tax levy, the very helpful
Yeah.
chart with the blue, orange, with gray.
Yeah,
yellow.
I got it. We got it. I'm typing right into it.
Okay. Just extend it with 2 more additions. FY27, assuming the override, and FY27, assuming the override is rejected.
Okay. Chaz, can you take that back to
We're both
Melissa, please?
on. Melissa and I are both on. Yep, we can.
Oh, she's on. Okay, I didn't see it. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I apologize. I just didn't go down.
Yeah, I guess the question is whether or not this chart should be town and schools or just town.
Oh, well, for now, well, no, I think it has to be town school. Yeah.
So until we have a school number that we were not able to complete the chart.
Yes.
Perhaps what we need to do is have a chart, a separate chart once we have all the numbers that shows, because it would be confusing to show it with and without in this chart. But once we have that final number, to have a chart that shows the same thing with and without. Does that make sense to you, John? Or it's something we should be looking at?
Yeah, just let me make a suggestion, though. Janet, please send the data for this anyway.
No, I am sending
JD
you
and I,
both
because
the data
regardless
for
of what we,
this and the
yeah, there's
salary
a
data.
there's a data visualization challenge here that he and I are going to work on.
No, I'm going to send you that. And
Yeah. And then when we get, so Melissa, we don't want you to do the work twice, right? So let's wait till you have the other data, and then we can bring it all in at the same time. But we'll have the visualization ready. All right, great. So look, I'll figure out for now between, Chaz's team of all, John and Janet, just send me updates or something like that. What I can do is send you the entire document as it is now. I'll do work on this crazy formatting because it wouldn't download from the shared drive. I had to copy and paste it. So there's 100 misformats in invisible misformats. So I'll fix that and then send it all out, hopefully today, okay? In the next, I
Jesse,
don't know,
when
2
you
hours.
send it as a PDF as this was, I then have to
No,
copy.
no,
the
no, no, no,
document.
no, it would be a Word document.
Oh, okay, great, that's fine.
I'm not sending it as a PDF. No, no, if I did, that was a mistake. No, 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 no. You'll
The
get this
last
as a
one
Word
was.
document.
Okay,
No,
great.
no, it'll be a Word document. Okay, and then, no problem. It'll be a Word document, okay?
Yes, do you have anything else to say? Your hand is still up.
He's gonna it's a motion to adjourn from JVS.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. See you next Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10:30. I'll get the agenda to Nicole by tomorrow, I hope. And thank you, everybody, for your efforts here. We've made really, I think, admirable progress
I think
as
we have.
as a team here. Really good. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, admirable leadership, Jesse and Janet.
Oh,
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye-bye.